I was petrified because I just thought all these guys are Oxford grads and Cambridge guys, everybody had a plum accent or they were like geezers back in the day, like northern guys and all that. But there weren't really, there was no black people there, and I was very conscious that in a paranoid way, I used to think any moment now they're going to go, hang on a minute, chaps, isn't he black? Should we kick him out? You know what I mean? I was weird, but I was just sort of like, I just felt like I shouldn't be there. And people call it imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's probably too highbrow for me, but I did feel uncomfortable.
Hello and welcome to the Courageous Leaders podcast, brought to you by the Change Creators, where we strengthen leadership teams, creating environments where people and profits can grow together. I'm Joanna Howes, your host, and on today's show, I couldn't be more excited to welcome Trevor Robinson OBE, founder of Quiet Storm. A creative powerhouse, Trevor is behind iconic ads like You've Been Tango'd and Haribo's Kids' Voices. He also leads Create Not Hate, opening doors for underrepresented young creatives. Recognised with an OBE and multiple industry awards, he is a true change maker. Let's get started. Trevor, welcome to the show. It's an absolute honour to have you here. Thank you for your time.
Well, I'm glad I got here eventually, and I really find it an honour being here as well. So looking forward to this. I'm not normally looking forward to these kind of stuff.
Oh, that's really good.
Oh,
I'm pleased to know that. So we're going to dive in. I don't spend a long time working out what questions. We're going to go straight for it. What is a courageous moment for you in your career to date?
I thought the most courageous moment, actually, like getting into the advertising industry was like a big emotional thing and barriers for me, more psychological, but I'll talk about that in a bit. But starting my own agency, I think it was probably the most foolhardy and courageous thing I've ever done. And at the time, I had no intention of starting an agency. I didn't really think about it. It wasn't one of my ambitions. I just wanted to try and do the best work I possibly could. And I remember Tom Carty once asking me, what do I want from advertising? And I said, I want to do work that people remember and talk about and just make my mark in that way. And he just, I remember us having a pee in the toilet, and he just said at the end, well, you haven't done it yet, have you? He just stormed out. I went, oh, okay. But he was right. It was like, it was something that I needed to try and obtain. But when I tried to start Quiet Storm, it was originally going to be me and Al. And it was Trevor and Al, I think, was the original name of the agency. And Jane Fuller, who was our producer at the time, and my ex-wife, Trevor Robinson, was going to start it all together. And as I said, I wasn't really pushing to do that. I wanted to do it at Hal Henry. But they didn't really like the idea at first, even though they did go ahead and they did a brasserie. But I think they just didn't want to do it with us. But Al was like, let's go and do our own place, and he's pretty adamant. And Jane really wanted us to do it. And then when I think it was a week after we just was about to start, Jane turned around and said, I spoke to my lawyer, and I don't want to do it now. I'm not going to do it because I want to keep my name, Jane Fuller. It's a production company. I don't want to go into this agency stuff. And I think the penny dropped that this was a plan all along, just to get us to be directors and get us out of agency. But I always wanted to, the whole point of it was to write and direct your own work. And that was the thing that I had seen other people do in America and in Amsterdam and Holland. And I couldn't understand why there wasn't an agency doing that in the UK. But so because we took so long to get into the advertising industry in the first place, I think it was about a year and a half, both chunks at a time, Al just really, his confidence went completely, and he had a bit of a emotional kind of breakdown kind of thing at that time, because it was like the idea of us slugging it away again, trying to start, kind of landed on him. And then so I was just left with me and Terry, who just decided to leave Hal Henry as well, because the financial aspects of the company wasn't suiting her. So it was just me and her in a empty room, no clients, and stupidly no clients. We left without any clients, and kind of no real idea other than this is a plan that I wanted to do at some point, write and direct my own work. And especially when you didn't have any work, it was a bit of a heartache. And then luckily I sort of stuck with it, because the idea, Al went back to Hal Henry, and the idea of going back to Hal Henry to me was just like a nightmare. I just didn't, I don't know why. I should have just went back. Everything would have been cushy. We had a job. You know, we had projects that, my first projects I did was from Hal Henry. It was Apple Tango'd that luckily we won some awards for. And it was my first writing and directing sort of thing, as in co-writing with Al. And so it was really lovely to get those couple of jobs underneath. Oh, I can do this. And then, went on from there, really.
What do you think it was, though, you were to reflect back, that stopped you going? Because the easy route, as you said, was to go back to Hal Henry. What do you think that fire in you was suddenly like, no, I'm going to keep moving forward with this? Bearing in mind, there was 3 of you, now there was 1. It wasn't really what you planned to do. You were talked into it.
Yeah.
So how did that fire, what was it that then got ignited in you?
I think I just got really excited about the idea of doing it. You know, the idea of being able to write and direct your own work. Because what happened at that time, all the best directors like Frank Budgeon were ex-creatives, and then they went off and then they stopped being creators. They would write the script up that they were given, but they weren't creatives anymore. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have to do the day-to-day thing, and they were just directors. And I just really liked the idea of like people like Tarantino and Spike Lee. You know, I'm trying to think of other writer-directors that really inspired me, and I went, I want to do that in ads. I want to do that for ads. And I just think I always felt very frustrated when we would come up with scripts and then you'd give it to some directors, especially back in those days. The directors didn't really care and slightly embarrassed about ads. They wanted to get the money, and lots of the Alan Parkers and the Ridley Scotts had grown up in advertising. So they had a real kind of, right, this is a really good place where I can paint and create these beautiful pieces. Well, but they wanted to eventually be directors. I just liked the idea. I just wanted the opportunity to write and direct my own stuff. And it was and a place where creatives could do that. Because creatives, like I said, would stop being creatives and become directors. And I just thought, what a waste.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think it's changed much now? Do you see more agencies allowing that creative freedom?
It's a very hard question for me to answer, because I've been running Quiet Storm for over 30 years. I haven't really been in other people's agencies. You know, even when we first started, I was used to go to a lot more shows, go into a lot more exhibitions and stuff, and you'd see the talent that's out there and what they're doing. And I'm not sure. I thought there would have been a lot more people coming to me and going, look, I want to, I want to do what you're doing. I have the opportunity to write and direct. And I've had a lot of my teams, that's what they do at my place. But I don't know. I think people just slip into their roles very quickly into advertising. Right, I'm a copywriter. Right, I'm an art director. Right, and no one really wants to muddy, and people don't want you to muddy the water. They go, what are you?
It's messy.
Yeah. They go, what? And then I go, I'm a art director, because I can naturally draw and do my storyboards and stuff like that. But I never see myself particularly as a designer and a crafter. And I always people like Dave Dye and all those, Mark Reddy. I used to love those guys, but I weren't like them. They were really dedicated and to the typography and the balance. And I just like the big ideas. I just like the ideas that will get my friends and family laughing and going, oh, so I like that. And that's my buzz. And I think everybody's got their own little vibes, but that was definitely my style, that I wanted to try and create an environment where I can do more of it.
And how important has it been to you? So when you said my style, so you knew that's what you wanted. So I'm going to go out there and make that happen. In terms of the values of Quiet Storm and what Quiet Storm is today, how much have you made sure that this is true to who I am? not just following the trends of what everyone else is doing?
I can't really say speak for others in the agency. I can only speak for myself in terms of I wanted to create an environment where going back to agency life, there was always a them against us situations. The account guys thought the creators were idiots, and the creators thought the account guys were bad carriers that don't understand what a good idea was, and the strategists and planners used to swan around like Moses and lay down
Saying very big words.
Yeah, big words that
I
we
never
all go,
understood.
why can't you? You're meant to be talking to normal people. Why do you talk like this? But I found that all really, and the clients were the enemy. The clients were the ones that paying for this, but they don't, they should just put the money by the door and scuttle her away. And I just thought, I really wanted to connect with the planners, and because when me and Al were on a dole, we found ourselves coming up with strategies ourselves. Started working it, I found it. Some of my best ideas was coming when we were really looking at the target audience, really looking at the business problems, really looking at how can we do an original solution to this. And I would get inspired by, well, everybody's doing that. Why don't we do this? And so that's when I started thinking that the agency itself has to work in a slightly different way. I want to feel that the clients trust us, and the clients allow us to be creative, and some more so than others I've found through the years. But I think, weirdly enough, because I've had incredibly long relationships with Haribo now, with Herwig Vinnekins I met years ago when he was like a minor client, and now he's global, kind of Mr. Vinnekins. Everybody bows and scrapes as he comes into the room and all that. And we just have a giggle because we've just known each other for so long, and it's kind of like an old proper relationships where we fell in and out of love, and definitely he did with us, but we just kind of kept proving our worth and kept doing work that has made their brand successful. So I love that opportunity to be like that with your clients. So creators normally didn't meet the clients. You were underneath the stairs like Harry Potter. Do you know what I mean? Dragged out every now and again when the guests were there, but normally when it was a production. And I think that's one of the first times I really got that idea was, I think it was on Ronseal Wood Varnish, and we were pre-warned that these guys are they're boring northern guys that talk about wood, and they're obsessed with it. And then we met them, we was about to do the production, and they did talk about wood a lot, but they were really funny guys, really bright, and they gave us some insights that me and Al going, oh, that'd been brilliant, we could have done that. But it was too late. We'd met the client too late, and that's the problem that I felt like I want to get around that. How do we get there earlier? How do we create a bond between us and the client earlier, and understand, because they know so much about their audience that we don't, and also they know the in-house politics that we don't. And half the time we're getting a good idea for it is making sure we appease that person, but that person up there, the guy that you only meet once, that kind of goes, no, start again, and you go, oh, what? And so it was a challenge for me, and also like even down to the roles, the account men and the planners, I just wanted them to feel, I wanted them to be like, that's hence our creatives, isn't it? I'm awful at presenting. I always force everybody else to do it, but I think it's important that the creators are there, and important that they're selling their work, and the clients can see the white of their eyes, and the account guys feel like they're not just going off and then coming back with bad news or whatever. It's we're all in this together, and in the same way with the strategists, we all sit around and come up with the strategy together before they go running off and do their Moses. It's like we want to be able to feel that we've had input in that, and I think some of the best work comes from that.
It's a collective mindset, isn't it? Not, you do your bit, pass, because I was in it for years, you pass the baton round. Yeah. It's like, all right, where's the baton now? And it's like, no, actually, this collective attitude, and don't even work, let's get rid of these silos, because actually it's all about the work. Everyone just wants to make great work.
Exactly.
If you're enjoying this episode and finding it insightful, I want to take a moment and remind you, if you haven't already, to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's a small action, but it makes a big difference. Not only will you be the first to know when an episode drops, but it really helps us to continue to create this content for leaders like you. And I'd love to hear from you. So if you've got thoughts, questions, or ideas, feel free to drop them in the comments. Also, if you want to explore how my leadership training and coaching can support you and your team, then drop me a DM and we can have a call. Thanks so much. Now let's get back to the episode. I'm going to pick up on something you said, because in the prep call, I remember you telling me a lovely story about this when you said that you don't like to present.
Oh, right.
Would you be happy to share it? Because I remember, you sharing how you wouldn't read out the script.
Yeah. Well, me and Al, obviously we spent a long time on the dole trying to get in interviews after interviews, meeting people, get your portfolio, and they go, oh, I don't like that. And anyway, Al would do most of the talking because I was petrified, because I just thought all these guys are Oxford grads and Cambridge guys, everybody had a plum accent and or they were like geezers back in the day, like northern guys and all that. But there weren't really, there was no black people there was no, and I was very conscious that in a paranoid way, I used to think any moment now they're going to go, hang on a minute, chaps, isn't he black? Should we kick him out? You know what I mean? I was weird, but I was just sort of like, I just felt like I shouldn't be there. And people call it imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff. I don't, it's probably too highbrow for me, but I did feel uncomfortable. And Al, who had a massive stammer, not with me, and it was really weird because like he would just get into meetings and then he would start stammering and I would go, what are you doing that for? In my head. But Al was so good he was such an intelligent guy. He would use it. You see people leaning forward and he would, come in with us. And he's such a bright guy, such a graceful guy, and a funny guy. Anyway, I used to get annoyed though that he'd be presenting an idea of mine or something, and he would kind of go, I'll go, you didn't say afterwards, you didn't say that, you didn't do it. Why didn't you say that, man? And one time he just got really annoyed with me and he went, fuck you, man. Look, I've got stammer. Like he goes, you got to respect, you might not say things the way they talk, but when you've got a point of view, when you're emotionally invested and you're excited by an idea, that reverberates through the room. You should trust yourself and do it. And like Al, I used to run that through my head every time I was in a position where I was forced to talk about an idea, because this goes back to even college, because I used to bunk off and avoid presentations of standing in front of, because I think it comes from school. Our school, you didn't put your hand up and say something. It would go, you know what I mean? It was such a rough, crap school. They like, when I look at my kids now, they're being taught how to present, how to argue, how to, I looked in amazement at, wow, our school was like the opposite. It was just like, how do you play about? Don't sit at the front of the class.
Be cool.
Yeah, be cool. Well, it was just the rules. It was such a, teachers would just scribble on the board and write that down and walk out to the...
There's no care.
No, it was a terrible school. But I think it kind of was in me outside of the art lessons, which I thrived in. And I was like, I got on really well. I still remember her name, Mrs. Tidy. And I just got on really well with, and they seemed to like me. And it felt like they were my people. And I think that's why I was always drawn to advertising. Because I always felt, at the heart of it, it's all about ideas. And like everybody can get excited about that. But that helped me. What else said to me about, just trusting your own voice and everything will be okay.
Because the people listening, because I know this is going to resonate with a lot of people, because presenting, public speaking is one of the top things people fear needing to do, because of the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of failing, fear of looking stupid. So I've said to many people, like, trust yourself, but it's still then not been enough for them to take the action. What do you think it was within yourself that when you decided to change and go, no, do you know what, I'm going to do it?
Well, I think you've got to work out your own style. The key thing for me was it petrifies me. It's till this day. When you first, it doesn't get out of control anymore. It used to really get out of control, and I would shut down. I remember I had to do a talk at, about advertising. I can't remember now, at the National Film Theatre, and it was a big auditorium. It was really bright. I could see everybody, and I remember right smack bang in the middle was this guy with his two girls, and they were visibly bad mouthing me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they were like. Oh, it's quite rubbish, Nick. Why are we here and all this? And I started fixating on them, and I found it hard to talk anyway. And then I started fixating on them, and I was thinking, yeah, you're right, I'm rubbish. I'm talking absolute cag. Like, why am I here? I'm almost thinking, did I run? What do I do? And then I just remembered to pinpoint a woman that was to the side, sort of middle-aged woman, really kind face, and she was like, you know, you could see her, like, could see that I was, you know, freezing. And then she was like, and she had a really lovely face, and I zeroed in on her, and then I just started playing back, because like literally all the words on the paper that was written down went like spiders, just went, and I couldn't see. I was like this, and then I just had to tap into paragraphs and thoughts and trains of thought that I was trying to do, and trying to say, and then I realized that's my rhythm. My rhythm is to get into not trying to read word for word on the page, because it's a bit like when I write. If I write it down, I spend so much time. Is that the right structure? Should I put this here? Should I put that there? You know, and not what the big idea is. What's the big idea? And like, so for me, okay, what am I trying to say here? What's the point I'm going to land? Smash it in a paragraph, and then that's easier for me to digest, have a good glance at, and then do it. But I had to find my own rhythm, and also get around my own. How do I get around my own fears? And just to walk out onto that stage is terrifying. And then you see, like, I've done it in Cannes. I was president of the big awards there at Cannes Lines, and I had to do a talk there by myself in a big auditorium, and it was hot, really hot, and I could see a few people hungover, and one guy was like, like literally he'd been out all night and he was gone asleep, and then I started fixating, and then I made a gag out of it, and then everybody started laughing, and the poor man woke up like that with the whole auditorium just looking at him, going laughing, but it did help. I have to find things, like I had to do one recently where I just couldn't get it. And like all the people that were there were all like technical guys and very accomplished, data-driven guy. And mine was at the end, and there's a big show with mine. I was thinking, Jesus Christ, this is so not me. But I was in the toilet, and it was really funny because it had a recharger in the toilet. And I was thinking, oh, isn't that funny that you got to, even in toilet, there's no escaping the media, no escaping technology. You're expected to plug in and keep going on your phone. And so I started with that and got everybody laughing and sort of like, you know, and I relaxed. And I remember Rania afterwards is like, you didn't start. Why did you start with that? You know, because her way of doing it is by the book and never get out of place. And I'm the opposite. I have to kind of feel comfortable, and the things that make me feel comfortable is if I can talk about stuff that I really believe in, but also just if you could get people to laugh for a second, or just to kind of, my shoulders relaxed, their shoulders relaxed.
I'm completely with you on that. I've noticed, without actually just listening to you, has made me realise that I have got a start, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I do something similar.
Oh really? What do you do?
I notice now, especially if I've got a handheld mic, because I always worry that my hand's going to shake with a handheld mic. So I will stand there, and then I'm like, do you know what? I just need, and then I got on stage the other day and I went, do you know what? This reminds me of being a rep in Ibiza. You know, and I was like, and to the left is Pasha, and to the right is, and then suddenly,
you do that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh wow!
So I just suddenly thought, I just need to own how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
I need to own that this is a bit strange holding this mic, and I'm staring at all these people. And I thought, and I think as soon as you show your little bit of vulnerability,
exactly,
the whole room is just sort of with you a bit more, and it's like, oh, you're normal.
Yeah. All
right, we can listen to you. You're not just going to kind of preach at me for the next hour.
I think styles is really interesting. Again, my friend Tim Borton, and we've been mates for almost 30 years, longer than that actually. We used to all go clubbing and all that, and I was always impressed with both him and Rao and their style. Rao's got a lot more casual, slightly crooner way of doing it. He's got real charm to him. Both of them come across as incredibly intelligent and articulate and thought through. And I just look in my headset, I'm like, oh, all right, like, oh. And like a farty band member, do you know what I mean? Like, but they're like, you know, and it's interesting. And I remember watching Tim and having this, and he's high where he wants to have a laugh, like a bit like a wedding best man speech. Going to get a laugh there. I'm going to get emotional there. And I can't do that. And I realize I cannot pretend to be somebody else. And in the same way with your work, in the same way with your ambitions and what you want to do, you can't try and be someone else. Like when we were talking earlier about, you know, people still say to me, like, you know, because I've written screenplays, I've written short films, and they keep saying, when are you going to do your film? When are you going to do it? And like, I've had mates go off and do feature films and stuff like that. And sometimes I always think, oh, I'm not ambitious enough. I'm not doing those kind of stuff. But I've always find I'm excited about what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it, in the same way, like I'm saying, the way I go about talking and doing presentations and stuff. I have to do it my own way. And I enjoy doing it that way. I can't pretend to be somebody else.
It's so easy to get influenced by others.
Yeah.
I've been there, to say, running my own business for 7 years, and you get everyone going, "Wow, are you growing it to sell it? And you should do this, and you should hire other coaches." And you just sit there going, "Oh my gosh, is that what I should do?" And then you suddenly see another coach pop up, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and they've got a book, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my word!" And then you meet. I do had that moment of, I'm failing.
Yeah.
I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go, hang on, let me just detach myself from that thought at the moment. Is that what I want to do? Do I want to be doing that? Do I want to have other coaches in the business? And you just sort of sit there going, no, I am actually really happy. But it's so easy that even you go through that, no, I'm happy doing that one. Give it another month, it'll come up again and, oh, they're doing that. Why am I not doing that? But it's like the mind management it takes, I think, sometimes just to know who you are, stay true to who you are, and be able to just quieten that noise of that should.
I think it's so important. I think always good to do new challenges, have new challenges, and set new goals and set new barriers. But it was also being aware of what you like doing, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what gets you excited. What, like we have failures. Yes, like other people just start up last year, next minute they've been bought out by, you know, like whoever, and they were like, you know, front cover campaign, hot this, hot that. And you're just like, oh, you know, have we missed it? Yeah. But we've survived for so many years, and we've done good work and work that we're proud of and work that I'm less proud of. And I think long as I'm still in it with an opportunity to do good work, that's it for me. That's the exciting bit for me. And yes, sometimes you don't win those pieces of business and it feels like your gut's ripped out. But then again, you win something or you do something that's really nice and you're all there punching the air like an idiot because you've won an award or something. And it's lovely because I think I've had the same thing where people are like, you know, so-and-so is now 150 people and they've got offices in Japan and France and, you know, and when are you going to open offices in New York? You've got this, you've got that. I'm just like, I don't want to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, even when I was young, I didn't want to do that. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just being honest with yourself and not always listening to the noise, as you say, and just kind of going, right, what do I want? And what, because I think you do your best work when you're doing the things that you love doing. And
there's so many distractions now, so many. And I think we overcomplicate stuff. And that simple question, what do you love to do? I was working with someone yesterday trying to help them find their purpose. And you could see them going like, to save the world, to da-da-da. And I'm like, that sounds massive. Like, and they was like, well, what's yours? And I was just like, to teach. Yeah. It's just really simple. I love teaching. So I'm going to teach myself so I can keep teaching others. It's very simple. And they're like, oh, what your purpose can be that simple. I'm like, yeah. I think people do, and also put the weight of what, you know, like, you know, we've done Create Not Hate, was just a project that I was really excited about. I stumbled in it, to be honest, because I just remembered people from school and
guys I grew up with and girls I grew up with that were far more talented than me, far more bright. I remember being on a bus with this guy, David Barnes, and he had so much charisma and so much, he was so funny. He was like this Eddie Murphy character that had this complete strangers on a bus laughing at his anecdotes and his jokes. And he, and I was just like, wow, I was in awe of people like that. And then I stumbled into advertising and then I made a career out of it. And I was like, wow, what if those guys had gotten into advertising? And I was thinking, I looked around and it is improved in certain spaces, but still pretty much stagnant in other areas. I was just thinking, must be some way that the people out there can see there's a lot more guys like me, if not better than me, out there, and get them into advertising, get them into this world. And in the same way, I wanted those guys to realize, because not many people I knew, they were like, "Where are you going? What you want to get what's advertising? That's not for you." Do you know what I mean? Like music, sport, that's your game. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, no, now I know the industry, and now I know what the impact you can have out in the world, as well as the pleasure that you can get from doing what you're doing, and the experiences that certain times I have to, pinch myself when I'm, on a location. I'm just about to go off to Cape Town on Sunday to participate and then I'm going off to New York, off to LA to shoot a commercial. And you just like, sometimes I just kind of go, wow, do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a pleasurable thing. So I wanted to start Create Not Hate for that reason. And then first time around I went to my old school and I said, look, I've got this idea about getting these kids in, and again, in a massive auditorium full of kids just looking at me like, yeah, toss out. and trying to win them over and get them excited about advertising. And we set the project at the time was knife and gun crime. I'd seen on the TV, my old school hadn't changed that much. There was an incident where a guy was stabbed to death, and a young guy, and I put that as a subject matter to the kids. And there was and I also wanted to make the work that they came up with so I could show the outside world. And we did one called Mother's Tear that was, if you look online, it's still really, I find it so moving. And did that, but the second time around, because trying to run a project like that and run your own business, it's like trying to do a feature film and run your own business. It's impossible. So the next time around, when George Floyd was murdered, and I was really angry and smashing cupboards closed and stuff like that, and Iran just sort of said, well, look, why don't you do something positive? Why don't you get Create Not Hate up and running again, and try and get more people in the industry involved in it, try and get them to tutor the kids as well. And that was a really interesting thing, to use something so emotive as how do you deal with racism? How would you stop racism? And it was really funny. One of the guys who came and worked with us for about a year, 2 years, Emmanuel, he was sat at the front. It really reminded me of remind me myself, to be honest. He sat at the front going, oh, who's this wanker? And I was going, hey guys, we can come up with some ideas. How do we stop racism? And I remember him, I was started at the back of taking all the people's ideas. And he went off to the toilet thinking, by the time he gets back, I would have finished. But he hasn't, I slowed it down. I was like, for him to come back. And then I could see this panic on his eyes because he's talking to the other and they had an idea. So when I got to him, he just said, and I think it's the best thing about coming up with ideas in advertising. Often the best ideas comes from emotions and ideas that come from yourself. And he said, like, well, the key thing about prejudice is people look at you, they see the guy swaggering around, trousers hanging down, or whatever they see, black guy with cane rolls or something. And he goes, but they don't see that I love Frank Sinatra. They don't see that I love, Shakespeare. So we did the ideas based around that, and that was Channel 4 gave us some airtime for it. We went and shot it together, and we got the crew. Everybody was, as much people from that background, took them along the journey, took them to the edit suite, and it was really, I mean, like, that project I find incredibly rewarding as well. And like when you say about, it's not saving the world, but in my own way, and I know I can make a dent on that because I know what I'm talking about. And I can see with the kids, they can kind of go, actually, he's done it. And if he's done it, I could do that. Do you know what I mean? And that's a really lovely, inspiring situation to be involved with.
It also just made me think like that purpose to inspire others that they can. And what, a lovely thing that you've taken action on that as well.
Yeah.
Where's Create Not Hate at right now? Like, is it still going? Do you need help? What's happening?
Yeah, we do need help. It's usual with these things because when Floyd was murdered, he was, it affected everybody. It affected my friends. My friends were like going, a light bulb went off and they went, how can I help? What can I do? What can I do? And everybody had that leaning in, and like the conversations, we were having these awkward conversations that you would never have normally. It was just like, and it was the right climate for it. And then we worked with John Lewis. We worked with, tried to do a project with Disney. We had momentum. And then you get hit by COVID and Brexit and all these things, and businesses are freaking out because of wars and stuff. And the money to do it, people just don't want to put it in. Clients don't. They're like, I've done it now. We've done it. Didn't we do that project? And people don't get that this is important for the industry as well. It's important to get fresh blood in from different ideas, different, that reflects the audience as well. That really does kind of, some of the work that I see that goes out, you can see that it's been, no disrespect to these people, but it's written by a certain group of people, and the work looks like that. And in some of it, it's looked like it's written for the industry itself. You ever see a holiday ad? It always makes me laugh. It's always this couple, with their 2.2 kids and on this idyllic, empty beach, and then he's reading the book and she's running in the sea and the kid, and like most people in the country don't have holidays like that. Like when we was doing the work on the beach, I had to go with one of these places. I went on holiday, but it made me laugh at first. I just wanted to get my bag and get out because it was just like such a shock, like everybody was like, no, it's cool on the beach, but no one's on the beach. They're by the pool. They're interacting. They're making friends for life. They got 1 week that they're going to just tear it up, and they're going to have the best time ever, and they're going to be doing games around the pool. And I could see it was like advertising's nightmare, ad people's nightmare. They're going to the Maldives, and they're going to walk around and eat fruit. And to them, that was all, and to me, it was a real eye-opener. Like, all-you-can-eat buffet wasn't just for gluttony. It was about parents, like, just going, you know what? The kids are fine. They're going to go and eat when they want. They can have ice. This is my chill out.
You haven't got to worry about money. Yeah. It's just there. Yeah.
And it was interesting headset when you look at the problem with advertising, because it's full of people. That is this tiny little niche of people, privileged people, that actually don't think like the strategists, the creatives, don't think like the people are, because they've moved so far away from the people out there. They might do their little groups and make their little notes, but they're not really. And you need people around the table that at least has some kind of connection. And I think it's great when we work with the kids as well, with various projects. You can just get their point of view, and I'm always like, wow, I never saw that coming.
Just wakes it up.
Yeah.
You get a bit of reality.
I find it rejuvenating for me as well. Being a crusty old guy, I go out there and I'm like, Trevor, haven't you done this? I'm like,
whoa.
But the terrifying thing as well is like, I don't get stopped and searched anymore. I'm driving a lovely car. I don't go through that. Like, the kids come in there, we're being stopped and searched on there, even with their parents with them. We're being stopped and searched. And I was just thinking, gosh, I'm so far away from what people are experiencing nowadays.
Yeah. So for yourself to stay in touch with what's
It's
happening
really
as well, and
important.
not to think it's all been solved, because
Yeah.
you don't
I
experience
know
what's
it
still
hasn't
going
been
on.
so, because it's just going on. And it's like, my kids are incredibly privileged and stuff, but they still feel it, and they still are involved with it. You know, they're not that far from it. But I just think it's important for the industry to progress, to be around, because I really don't think it like, people worried about AI in, like, creativity should be the last bastion, last place where humans can, you know, us doers, we can make things and do stuff, and I can draw your picture and you can, but the more we stop connecting with people, the more other things will take over. You could see with data and how that's like, people like, right, I'm going to invest my money there because I know where they shop. I know where they, you know, what brands of tea bags they like and stuff. So therefore I get them. So therefore I've done my creative duty, you know, and I've done my due diligence in terms of getting the right message to that audience. But the fact is, people need ideas, they need stories, they need intimacy, they need connection. And the minute advertising stops doing that, the minute it won't be advertising anymore.
Well, it would just be robotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really might as well be.
It would just be stuff bombarded at us. We're already saying that ideas now aren't as good on the TV as when we were young. And I think that's, I wouldn't 100% say that, to be honest, but because I think there's still people desperate to do good ideas that people talk about.
And ultimately, people just want to feel seen.
Yeah.
And you say in the advertising industry, you can do that through the ideas. It helps someone feel seen.
Yeah.
Just a quick pause to ask for your help. We received wonderful messages on how the podcast is supporting you as leaders and helping to normalise the challenges you face. To help us reach and support more leaders, we'd love your help. If you haven't already, please can you follow or subscribe on the platforms you watch or listen to us on, as it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. And now let's get back to the episode. While we've got you here and we've got an audience listening to you, what would you like to ask for with Create Not Hate? If people are sitting here listening, very inspired, hearing from you, and they want to help, how can they help? What is it you're looking for?
From the industry to really see it as an important part of the remit. They should be approaching their clients with saying, look, we need to get people from these backgrounds and this kind of people always, they're still going to colleges and they're still go to schools, and they're like, well, they're too young. No, they're not. Yeah, get into the schools, get the teachers talking, and teachers drawing out who's the creators in there, who wants to do stuff. You know, there's so many different layers of advertising, from art direction to typography to, you know, editing, grade, you know, so many different aspects of advertising, marketing that people can be excited about.
And is Create Not Hate still going as a campaign? So if someone wanted to help fund it with you or wanted to volunteer to help you do part of your campaigns, is it still live and active at the moment? If people want to actually
100%.
come and just say, look, I can give you some of my time, or I'm willing to partner with you or fund you.
Yeah, just get in contact with us, and we'd love to, like, especially clients, because they've got the purse strings most of the times, and also the clients affect the advertising industry. I remember years ago when I was like trying to get people of color into commercials, and I won't say who the clients were, but they were like, no, my audience is this. And the minute they start to get complaints on Twitter, where's the people of color in the commercials, they went, all right, to the agencies, get some people of color. And I think it's always, you know, things change through money, and the money is the clients. And so I think the agencies need to react, but the clients need to be there first, and kind of like, I want to have a better connection with the outside world, with our product, whatever we are, and they need to crack the whip onto the advertising agencies as well.
Take the first step forward.
Yeah, but I would say anybody who's interested in it at all, whether they're creatives, whether they're clients and they're just interested in it, get in contact with us. You know, like it doesn't just have to be financial. It's so much reward comes from, you know, working with people.
But giving your time.
Yeah.
Sharing, teaching.
Exactly. And I felt that when I was working with some of the creative directors. These are big, established, intelligent, award-winning creative directors. And I could see them at first on the outside of the room, like, oh, I don't know, I don't get these guys. And then by the end, they're in the middle of it, and they're getting this, and they're sharing, oh, we've done this and done that. And like, you can see them, everybody buzzing off each other. And I could see them like, that was such an amazing couple of days or whatever. And I think it's such an important thing to not just be this navel-gazing industry where we just have no connection to the outside world. I think there's so much where it's not just about presenting your work to groups and then they come back and, oh, I don't like that. I like, you know, there's a better way to get ideas from people.
I love it. Thank you. It's very inspiring listening to you. And I know I've got my husband sitting over there myself. I'm going to be very motivated to help you and support you.
Get involved.
We'd love to get involved.
I'd love it. I love anything that you could bring to it. I'd love to do it.
I'm really curious. Is there anything, as our listener, people would be surprised to know about you?
I don't know. I think some people, when I say I was a court artist for a bit, you know, like I remember doing Jeremy Archer's court and drawing him in the courthouse. He's not a nice man. No, you could feel it emanating from him.
How long did you do a court artist for?
It was because I was on the dole from college and trying to get into college, and I was going to be an animator. I had one job in advertising that was coming out below the line of the agency, and a job as an animator, and I really wanted to do the animation job. Always remember it was in Q, and I was thinking, oh yeah, and that feels like Richmond Q and all that, and it's a million miles from my council estate. So I thought, yeah, I want to. And I always thought I would probably be, because I used to draw comics, I used to do designs, fashion design. I always thought I was going to be a lot more on the illustration side. And then that didn't come through. But I did get the job in advertising, where I got the bug for advertising there. I met Al, and I was saying to Al, right, we've got to get into the West End. Because weirdly enough, randomly, I met Tom Carty and Walter Campbell. Tom was in a post room. They went on to do the Guinness work, and just one of the best creators ever. And they used to work at night time in Dorlands on their portfolio. And Tom was in a post room. Walt was a creative, but he didn't like his partner. Him and Tom used to work together at night times. And Tom had this weird, he was like our creative director in a weird way. I didn't know what was neat. And he would kind of get things like D&AD and bang it on the table and go, right, you got to understand all this kind of stuff. And Tom was such a maverick. And if there's not many human beings that I have, like, I'd stuffed my cap to other than Al, and obviously our own creators at Hal Henry, but Tom was such an influence, because he used to, like, remember, made me laugh. We'd all share our ideas at the end of the session, and we'd be working through the night on our portfolios and stuff, and we'd share the ideas, and Tom would go, there, the best idea here. And he would stick it underneath the desk of the creators that was working there. And he would go, like, the creators working here will never know the genius underneath their desk. He was such a funny guy, and just such a, like, of that ilk, you know. He was just like, wanted to be the whole idea of a maker, an idea of a creative. And I found those guys and those people really inspiring. And it's really weird. I met people like Dave Dye there, where we all used to come in after our jobs, come in and work on our portfolios. And I think that the amount of time, like the idea of working on your portfolio, working weekends on your own personal project, not being paid for it, not like that drive to, and I kind of go, wow, I wonder if there's the equivalent to that now. Because we all just go, if you can get in and get your foot in the door and did something that people remembered and talked about, it could change your life. And it did with me and Al with Tango.
Hello, Tony. I think we might use a video replay here.
Super, Ralph. Let's do that.
Oh, yes, we could be in for a quintessential tango taste sensation here. Why, yes, Tony, let's look again.
Yes, Ralph, the big orange fella run in from the left, and he gives him a good old slapping.
It just illustrates the bite and buzz of real oranges in Tango.
Yes, Ralph, super taste sensation, smashing drink, lovely.
You know when you've been tangoed.
And I knew when we were working on this, that me and Al, because we felt we'd been fired and hired before, and I just thought, I don't want to be on the dole again. And we both thought, we can't take it again. This time we're gonna, be dragged out. And the only way to do that is to do work that not just the industry's talking about, people on the streets is talking about it, but to do that, also, you don't know what you're doing. You don't, it's a new baby, it's a new child, and you don't have it's terrifying, because I remember me and Al was saying, people are either going to hate this, proper hate this, or it's going to make us famous. So it was and that kind of emotion was really quite raw back then, because you really didn't have skill to fall back on, and time and longevity. And our creative directors was just as gun-ho as me and Al. We were like, this is no one is controlling this ship. We're just
got to put it out there.
And so that was a really amazing. I always remember being on a train going up to see my son, and for an hour, and I was tired, and I fell asleep on the train to hear these guys talking about our idea, and I was like, I really wanted to go out to them. I'm like, that's us. They're like, how mad is this drunk guy? But
that's very special.
But it's I've had lots of really important and exciting times because of that, and it's just it is risky, the advertising industry, because or you can just do blandness and hide in the shadows, I guess.
And it was lovely, because I remember when we were speaking about this before, you said it's just that willingness to put yourself on the line, the willingness to fail. And what I've loved listening to you is that commitment to the dedication of what you're passionate about, putting in the evenings, putting in the weekends,
because it could
change. No, but sometimes I remember when I started my business, it was the weekends, learning how to coach, learning how to do marketing. It's actually, but I did it because I think it's when you're so passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work. You just go all in.
Yeah.
But what I love listening to you is that, if you're willing to do that, it could change your life. And if you're willing to put yourself on the line.
I think you just have to be willing to put yourself outside your comfort zone as well.
Yeah.
I always remember, you forget about all this now. We've got proper legitimate clients, but remember they used to have this thing where we used to go and getting on the boat. It was like a very Vietnam kind of analogy of getting on, you'd get on a boat with prospective clients, but you didn't even get off the boat. You just went there, and you was with all these clients who were stuck with you, and we stuck with them, and everybody's in dicky bow ties and all that, and you would have this dating for half an hour with a client where you just sold your work, sold your company, and then another client, and it was one of the most horrendous things that I've ever done. But I learned so much from being in there, because it was just all about getting clients. And I made so many, one of my RO Vimto client, I met her there, and it was just in the corner, we're both oh, get me on this thing. And it was just but it was also incredibly rewarding for me to come off and with tangible pieces of business. And I had put myself in a position where there's no way, if you told me that I was going to do that, I would go, no way, man, that's so not me. But I think putting yourself outside your comfort zone, sometimes I think it builds you. It builds you. It builds your capability and also your understanding of why you like what you do. So now I'm going, new business, man. That's your job.
Yeah.
I've never done
that bit.
Cold calling people is one of the worst feelings in the world. It's just so soul destroying.
But it's right. Sometimes you just go through it.
Yeah.
You can do it. You've done through it, and you got where you needed to go. And I think it is when you've got that dream and that vision and that passion, it's the action to go outside your comfort zone that can make it reality. Otherwise, the dream is just going to stay there, and it's not very nice. But yeah, that message of something that helped me was, don't wait to be confident. It's doing the actions going to make you confident.
Oh, that's interesting.
So don't wait.
Never
So I
thought
kept
that.
sitting there going, oh, when I'm ready, I feel confident. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you got to do it first.
That's really good
Yeah,
advice.
and then kind of build from there.
I
But
100% agree with that, because if you just wouldn't leave your house.
no, you wouldn't do
Do you know what I
anything.
mean? Because you're outside your comfort zone the whole time, especially when, like I said, when I first got into advertising, even first time you direct, all of a sudden you turn around and everybody's staring at you. And like, they're like, what do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now? And you're like, and then you just kind of, once you get that, one of the best feeling is to get a whole crew laughing about some silly little, like we was doing the Haribo commercial in the States, and I had all these big guys dressed up like American footballers, and I'm not allowed to say that. Football, you're meant to say. They get very annoyed when you say American football. But I had all these big guys, and you could see cold morning, 6 a.m, we're all there, and we had the kids' voices being played out, and you could see them like, is this where my career's gone? Putting on kiddies' voices. But by the end of the day, or throughout the day, everybody was laughing. I think it was the nature of childlike escape with the nature of the joy, and it was like so nice, to have complete strangers from, all bonding and playing the game and messing around. And I just thought, this is what I love about what we do, because it's just like it's uncomfortable, really, and everybody's looking at each other like, I want to get my pay pack and get the hell out of here. But you end up, like people hanging around at the end. The shoot was over, and they were like, what are we going to do now? And I think that's such a lovely feeling, no matter what aspect you're doing in the advertising industry, when people, it's more than just a job. It's something that you find pleasurable.
And you're creating experiences and opportunities to
and
connect.
memories. And I think that's what, that for me, no matter what you do, what you want to turn your head to, if you can capture those moments where it doesn't feel like a job in the end.
Listen, Drew.
Well,
gosh, I could keep talking to you all day, Trevor. It's
Be
so
bored.
interesting. No,
Bored,
it's so
shouldn't it?
interesting, but I would love to know. What's that advice you'd give to your younger self?
to be honest, that young guy, like I was saying about when you started the agency, to leave the council estate, people like saying to me, what are you going to college for? Do you know what I mean? You're never going to get anywhere. Like, here, earn some money. And I remember being at that arcade when putting money down. I got that in one night. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. And I was like, I think, I always remember going to college and I had this black suede tasseled jacket, really tight up pants. And, and I had my flat top, my cameo flat top back then. And the thing that strikes me is there's nothing I could say to that guy. That guy ran through walls. That guy got rejected after rejection. He was put out of his comfort zone. He was found, I was depressed at college because I was like, I'm going to be with my people. And I realized, no, they were just a bunch of young kids who were just as backstabby, but less so, because at least at school, they just punch you in the face if they don't like you. There was like the industry, they smile and they're really nice, and then they say horrible and do horrible things. But I was able to get around all of that kid was. So there's nothing I could say to him, because I don't think I could do that now. I don't think I would have the strength that kid had, and that resilience, and just, shake it all off and go again,
Is there anything you'd like to say to that kid?
Well done, son.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really nice.
Yeah, don't go changing, because it was very, very unusual, I think. And I don't understand why, because there's no real reason why I should have had that confidence that I could have done these things. There was no one around going, you can do this. Even when I went to the careers officer, they just laughed and just looked. When I said I wanted to get into advertising, and showed me a brochure for London Transport, and no one really, except for the art teachers, actually. Yeah, I had the art teacher I had Lorraine at Chelsea. No, sorry, at Hounslow. Anyway, some teachers could see that I had something.
So that was lovely. Is there anything we've missed that you'd like to share before we close?
Not that much. The only thing I would say, it's an achievement to me to, like the story I said when I first started Quiet Storm, or at the time Trevor now, that became Quiet Storm. And then the horror that we're almost 30 years and we've been in the business for 30 years. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the journey that I've been on as a company, the people that we've met, some of the talented, creative clients, you know, people that I'm still building, still going forward. The Quiet Storm is still growing, but still maintaining its DNA and it's still maintaining its personality, which I'm really proud. And I'm just I just feel very grateful that I managed to have this experience. And I was saying, I still have nightmares when I wake up, like, ooh, that I'm working for other people again, you know, and hopefully, touch wood, I won't have to do that, you know, and because like advertising can be a kind of soulless and kind of like the feeling of why am I doing this occurs a lot more when you're not running your own place. And I think, you know, when you're running your own place, the weight's on your shoulders, but at the same time, the achievements, you feel a lot as well.
That choice, but congratulations.
Oh,
Because to say 30 years, you know,
it's tough. Like,
keep going.
yeah, well, as long as it keeps me interested, I'll be there.
It just shows you that young boy has still got that resilience, that determination and that dream. And it's been a pleasure to hear your story. Thank you for so generously sharing your experiences. I know a lot of people will be very inspired. And this is also a message out to our audiences. Please do get in touch to support Create Not Hate. We need it. Okay. Trevor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to get you back. I'm going to get you back for another part next year.
Oh.
I've just done this one.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, not him again.
But thank you
Droning
so No, not at all. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. If you've been loving our Courageous Leaders podcast, please can I ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps keep the quality content coming and reach listeners like you that we can then really, really help. We fund this podcast ourselves, so to have your support means that we can keep delivering week on week. Thank you.